Let me take the opportunity of beginning this primetime telecast and yet another one. We've been doing this for near 5 months now and approaching 100 episodes. 100 episodes to get you and all of the people watching right across the globe an indication of what wealth creation in India is about in the current atmosphere. We want to be talking about the developments that are taking place in the economy, but at the same time, showcasing you the people who have the ability to be the wealth creators in this boat, in this team, which we are all part of together. We do this in association with BusinessWorld. Let me introduce those joining us on the telecast in this edition. We have Disha Singla, she's co-founder of Supreme Incubator. Rohini Walia joining us, she's Chief Revenue Officer of Thomson Audio India. Dharit Parekh, co-founder of High Grocer. Sarah Sham, interior designer and founder of Isa G's Atelier. And of course, as always, we have the editor-in-chief of BusinessWorld, Anurag Batra, with us. Dr. Batra, why don't you set up this conversation for us, as always?
Thank you, NewsX, for collaborating with BW BusinessWorld and doing the 100th episode of something that started as a way to look at the means of livelihood, because it's a health issue that became a livelihood issue and started impacting health. So Rishabh, I'd like to congratulate you and your team and our co-anchors Uday, Vineet and Megha for doing this with me for the last 5 months and doing almost, this is the 100th episode. So grateful for that. As you rightly said, that economy is very important. As the focus shifts to kind of surviving with COVID, how we do in the economy also impacts the health and livelihoods of people. Let me start by asking Sarah. Sarah, the last 7 months have been very abnormal. I don't call them normal. It's not the new normal, it's the new abnormal. There's nothing normal about it. Tell us what has happened to your business. Interior design and interior design services are broadly luxury, especially in the segment that you operate in. Have you seen interest come back in your segment? People are buying affordable houses. People are redesigning their offices, both from, offices need to become lounges where people visit and not necessarily work out of it. And homes, again, we're spending much more time in our homes, so we may need to kind of design our homes. So tell us, how has your business been impacted? And how do you see your business beyond Diwali? I know the next 3-4 months, it may be okay because there is a wedding season, so on and so forth. But what's your midterm and long-term view?
I think initially when lockdown started, we were all very nervous because we do operate in the super luxury segment. We make homes where there are very large spends of money involved. So we were pretty certain that we were going to be hit very badly by COVID. But actually, it went in the totally opposite direction, and we have been completely rocking through lockdown. And this has been a very strangely positive time. I think so many people are sitting at home the entire time, obsessing over what is wrong in their houses. They've had nowhere to spend their money, no holidays, no restaurants. So there's actually a few studies that have shown that people are spending all of their money on their homes, on designing their homes. So earlier we had clients who would say, no, I'm sorry, I don't want to spend all this extra money on my home. I would rather save it. Now that they've spent so much money inside their home, they're like, please take the money, please spend the extra money. I want the nicer bed, I want the nicer sofa. Because I have never spent so much time in my home in my entire life. Nobody has spent so much time inside their home. They realize how important it is to have a nice home. All the small things that are wrong in their homes, everyone is now finding problems with and saying, I wish I had done it differently. So we're seeing a huge surge in a lot of inquiries, especially in the holiday home segment, actually, because everyone that has an empty plot of land or was thinking about a holiday home, they're all regretting that they didn't make that decision in lockdown where they could have escaped to a holiday home and run off there. So I think we've really had a really good response in lockdown.
Okay, and Sarah, if I had to ask, and in some way what you say is believable, because I said 4 months back that millennials who have not spent enough time in their homes for the first time will recognize the value of their home, and possibly with their savings, the first asset they'll buy when things are better is a home. So
Absolutely.
in some way, I support what you say. But give us a sense from what is the average spend on a home? I know you are in the super luxury segment, but give us a sense of spends.
I don't know what an average spend is, but we work with people wanting to spend a crore upwards on their interiors. So I'm not sure if that's
That's
tallies.
significant. That's for any home significant. And you know, what's your sense of economy? Do you see people as you seen in Hyderabad, in Bangalore, in these markets, the real estate buying activity and the numbers are back to pre-March levels. Uh, Not in Bombay and Delhi yet, but in Hyderabad, in Bangalore. So do you see that in the mid segment of the home, uh, you know, luxury, if I may use, affordable luxury is an oxymoron, but do you see people who spend 20, 30, 40 lakhs on their interiors? Do you see that number growing in a big way? Because I said Hyderabad and Bangalore have seen home sales. She's praying to the gods for India doing better on COVID, but go ahead, sir.
No, so I mean, I definitely think that there's a lot of optimism right now because people have not figured out how bad the impact of COVID is going to be. So I do think that post March there could be a bit of a dip, or there could be people who have ended their financial year and realized how little money they've made. So right now, I think there's still a bit of optimism, and people think that things are going to get better. And if they really don't in the next few months, I think there could be a dip coming. So we just have to kind of brace ourselves and hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Because right now, I don't know if it's a realistic scenario that people are still spending so much money.
Thank you, Sarah. Let me go to Disha at this point. Disha, uh, again, supreme incubator. Startups in a lot of businesses have seen their revenues go down to zero. So if you're a QSR or a food tech startup, or if you're a hospitality startup, or if you're a travel startup, lots of contact industry startups have seen their revenues disappear. On top of it, they haven't been able to raise capital, right? So a lot of startups have gone down in the last 6, 7 months. Others have pivoted or changed their orbit or changed their business model. Tell us, what is your prognosis for the companies that were born in pandemic? Are they likely to kind of survive beyond this pandemic? And what happens to startups that were looking to raise capital but haven't raised capital?
So this is definitely a very relevant question. So talking about startups, speaking from founders' perspective, it definitely varies from industry to industry. For instance, like health and wellness, entertainment, online education, point of contact delivery startups, they have comparatively faced, it's been positive for them, for startups who were already functioning and were funded. But for startups who are from different industries, they have definitely, who are from industries other than these sectors, they definitely faced a lot of, setbacks in customer demand, and definitely there has been a lot of cash crunch in them. So right now, startups are really struggling a lot. They are facing interpersonal issues, both professionally and personally. So it's a very tough phase right now. So we are in contact with startups on a daily basis, and a lot. So we're trying to provide them more personalized feedback and giving them access to more experts so that they're able to navigate this tough era, especially for startups who are not from the industries whose demand has increased.
And again, the right way to look at it is sectoral. You rightly said healthcare, edutech, content tech. I don't call it media entertainment, call it content tech. All these domains have seen a surge. But tell me, in your incubator, pre-March, you should get 10 applications. How many applications do you get right now? And what is the difference in the kind of applications you get?
So, post-COVID, strangely, we have received a positive response because it has forced us to go digital. Before COVID, we were just trying to, invite startups from across India in Delhi. We are Delhi-based, and right now we are able to empower startups where they are. So we have startup entrepreneurs in Tripura, in Andhra Pradesh, in smaller towns. So we are actually able to reach out to more startup entrepreneurs and help them where they are. And it has actually helped us to, increase our reach more. So the startup applications have actually increased a lot. And apart from that, we're actually able to give them access to experts and mentors from across the world. So it's been really positive for us, speaking from, connecting startups, even though the community connecting startups, they do thrive in in-person meetings and, connecting in face-to-face. But everyone has really adapted it to it really well. And it's really going well. Our reach has really increased a lot.
Okay, I'll come back to you and I'll ask about what is the one thing that has changed about entrepreneurs' mindset. For example, for the first time, the costs have to be lower than revenues. Sounds very simple, fundamental, didn't happen for many years because funding and we in the media would put headlines out, how much raised, we never focused on profitability. So I'll come to that aspect, but let me bring in Roshni Walia. Roshni, technology.
Sorry.
Technology's role in our lives has increased. We all are spending more screen time. So, accessories have become very important, So tell us how your business has been positively impacted and give us some trends going forward. Roshni Walia?
Rohini, actually.
Rohini, sorry.
Right,
Sorry
so it's a very popular name in Delhi.
No, I'm not at Delhi, but I was born in Gurgaon and I spent 20 days in Bombay, so you can never call me a Delhi wala, though I do live in Delhi. So, but my apologies for getting it.
That's okay.
I did look at the phone 5 times to get your name right, but I still got it wrong. It happens. Go ahead.
All right. I think we were one of the blessed ones post-COVID because we deal in audio accessories and audio really saw a lot of jump. That there was an absolute jump when the lockdown opened. Because what we presume is a lot of people who were sharing the headphones or earphones at home suddenly realized that each one of the member needs an individual earphone because all of them were working from home. Suddenly they realized the speaker of the laptop is not good. They cannot hear it. Either they take an earphone or they take external speaker or they take a Bluetooth speaker, which actually has an inbuilt earphone as well. Then the OTT, a lot of movies and entertainment coming on TV, and TV does not produces the kind of sound that makes it, that gives you the feeling of home theater. That's where the utility or the usage of external sound bars, the tower speakers, the external home theaters came into play. So we fortunately saw a jump the moment the lockdown opened, and Thompson Audio Prime, we sell online, and the other blessing in disguise was online got a jump because a lot of retail stores were closed. So people who were looking to buy audio, they were going online, they were going to Amazon, Flipkart, and other portals which sell audio. Now, the only drawback to this blessing was that this was not planned for the inventory. Like the bigger brands.
There was a supply chain disruption.
Correct.
Anyway.
The supply chain was disrupted, the deliveries were delayed, the inventories were not there. Whatever we had got sold out pretty early. So to plan, and then the China-India rivalry coming in the middle, where almost 100% production of the major brands across the world happens in China. So, and China fighting their own internal battles of COVID as well. So the supply chain and the production somewhere did not support the demand, which could have been encashed. So
Rohini, I got her name right.
Yeah.
Okay. If you do it once, it's a mistake. If you do it twice, it's a choice. It was a mistake to call you whatever. Rohini, I want to ask about, the government is very serious about Atmanirbhar and India's manufacturing capabilities. And about 2.5 months back, the government, just to boost the electronics manufacturing sector, came up with a new policy. Do you think in the next 5-10 years, in some way, we can become part of the global supply chain? Because no global major wants one country to have the supply. Everyone wants to diversify or manage risks or spread risks. So do you see us, this China advantage in terms of price, India ever providing that advantage over the next 10 years? I'm not talking tomorrow or day after. Or do you think it's a pipe dream and will never happen?
So I think 10 years is a reasonable time frame here at Gap, because to move the entire production supply chain is different from setting up an infra to roll up a software or to create a new app. That infrastructure is different when you're producing products. So it needs input and output both. So somewhere mobile phones, it is easier to start in India because the demand is very high. And the demand is high and there are top 2-3 players, but for audio, like the demand is of course there, but audio needs a lot of technical engineers to be interested in producing those devices. In China, there are specific institutes which actually gives you a degree in acoustics. So that's where the IITs and DITs and RECs have to start developing that interest in the students around sound and acoustics, and develop the interest to be standing on the floor of the production lines, because there would be some sweat on the ground. Then of course, then the production has to balance the salaries what these millennials or these Z generations coming will expect. So it's an entire supply chain which will have to be, and it is time to start thinking towards it.
And I may want to know, if you look at August, September numbers, give us a sense from the numbers that the green shoots of revival have started.
True, absolutely it has. So
give
the
sense from numbers.
So the sale through numbers is almost, I think, 2 times up for audio. So what if there was X, it is 2X or 3X which is happening. And what is going to even, because in next month is the season where the buying behavior and I think that today's stimulus from the finance minister to increase the demand and the liquid money in the hands of the consumers is going to help. Where the stalwarts of online will go on sale, the discounts will come, and the advertising has started happening. So hopefully this will continue, and we in our industry, the accessories, I think this should continue and this should sustain.
And also, next 30 days, your Diwali, then the wedding season kicks in,
Absolutely.
and the Christmas gifting season kicks in.
And I was hearing Sarah saying 1 crore in home renovation. I think our age is pretty reasonable.
Luxury is a cycle agnostic. It doesn't matter.
And we should, true.
And as she rightly said, we're spending more time. But let me go to Dharit. Dharit, tell us a bit about your business and tell us what has happened to your business in the last 7 months and where do you see it headed over the next 3 months?
Sure. Firstly, congratulations for your 100th episode to you and NewsX team. And thank you for having us on the panel. So we basically, High Grocer is a consumer product company wherein we manufacture products, food items, and we basically revolve around people who has the last minute thirst. So having said that, we did a research about it and we ventured into fresh food products, wherein we started with batter first, with the Lilosa batter, and we moved into packaged food, comfort food, basically ready to cook as an item. Now, what happened over the COVID period in the post-March, we are a 1.5, 2 year old organization. We had our own ups and downs in terms of manufacturing, all of that. COVID obviously had a little luck in terms of how do we take forward, and we gave us a back end of around 20, 25, 30 days. But then when we realized that, when we are into perishable item in a fresh food like a milk and all of that dairy item, this is also like a daily item which is perishable. So we needed to be locally produced, but we were produced in a different city. So transportation and logistics was an issue. So we got a 30-day slack time, but in that 30-day slack time, we revived ourselves and we started our local production. fingers crossed, we got a decent purview. Obviously, the flow was not as smooth as it was in the first quarter of the year, English quarter of the year. But yeah, eventually things started moving out. Today, we are grossing across 2005. We are across multiple cities. We concentrate mainly in metros and tier 1 and tier 2 kind of markets. We spread pretty thick right now. We work on a spray approach. And fortunately, what is in this COVID time, it has also helped us in diversifying into further more categories and moved into more natural and nutritionally high driven products. So that's where cook comes into picture, seasonings comes into picture, and consumers nowadays are the new outlook and pivot to the packaged food and beverage industry seems like change will dictate the new norm. Predominantly, the fear of viral infections around the need of good and health food products. Consumers will demand for more packaged foods, and that's what we're looking forward for. Because at the end, it's the quality assurance which we as branded products which we provide, rather than from a loose products which are sold into the market. Having said that, we are yet a locally produced company. We don't scale up. We ought to scale up in near future to the levels of the nationals, other FMCG companies. But being a locally produced, we have our own ups and we have our own advantages and disadvantages. The advantages predominantly are the ones that we get are locally enhanced. We get local dialect understanding. We connect with our retailers pretty well because they are our first mover. They are our spokesperson. Right, because if retailers are stocking us, is when we're able to talk it loud to the consumers, and when consumers will able to speak it up. So for us, the general trade is predominantly the mainly users. The modern trade people predominantly comes into the picture at a longer game when our opportunities are available. But more or less things have been pretty decent, and food has been the survivor across as an industry has been survivor. So being fortunate that being in this industry for a longer time, and it has given us a great spear.
Okay, let me go to Sara again. Sara, construction activity in most cities has resumed. Residential properties in the mid segment and the affordable segment has started to go up. As you rightly said, people have activated their holiday home purchases or have tried to fit it out, if at all there is a second wave, because nobody knows what's in store for future. Tell us, what are the changes you see in the mindset of people who fit out their homes? Give us a sense of some trends.
I think there's a lot of trepidation for a lot of people when they're fitting out their homes. So there's a few issues. First is that a lot of labor is in the village. They're just sitting there in the village and they haven't made it back here. So there's a severe shortage of labor that is happening here in on site. Apart from that, also it's a lot of risk, a lot of factors that people are very scared of. They want the labor only to stay on site. They don't want anyone, more than 5 people or 6 people doing work on a site, which is obviously slowing down work significantly. Usually we'll put 20, 30, 50 people on a site. Now all the building societies are saying no more than 5 people should be there on a site. So it's becoming very difficult to honestly manage workflow between the labor problems, and building societies giving us a hard time.
And has the cost of labor gone up because of these?
Yes, it actually has. The contractors had, negotiated that, say, X person does work in 100 rupees. Now that guy is saying 400 rupees because it's COVID. And they have already
100 to 400.
Yeah, and they have already quoted the clients, at that certain rate. So they can't suddenly go 4x of what they've quoted. So the contractors are hesitant to start work because all their costs have escalated, and if they try and pass it on to the clients are not willing to pay. So there's been a lot of interest in terms of designing work, but when it's actually coming down to execution, there are a lot of hiccups that are happening, and I'm hoping that they will start getting smoothed out over time.
Guys, I'm just going to interject here. We need to take a break in a couple of minutes. So let me just quickly go across the panel if I can before that. Sara, taking up from what Anurag has been, are there design changes? Do we have sanitation rooms in every new place that you're designing now?
Yes, absolutely. So a lot of people next to their shoe rack at the front, they're asking for a table, sanitation station where, all the groceries and whatnot can be kept, sprayed, and then brought into the house. And there are a lot of sprays and nanotech coatings that are available in the market that kill germs on contact. So we're in touch with all of those vendors to incorporate that into our projects.
Okay, what's the scale of the change? Are we seeing opportunities here that this, because you're seeing a lot of advertising now selling everything that seems to be killing viruses these days. But are we seeing an industry that is around permanent sanitization of our houses?
No, I think it's a very opportunistic industry. I think the human mind has a very short attention span. A vaccine will be found. Everyone will go back to being the same unhygienic self. Nobody's going to wash their hands. We're all going to touch each other and stand in the train and the bus. Nobody cares once the vaccine is found, and people have a very short memory. So I think these are all.
Okay, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I agree. I don't know if it's good or bad, but that's
okay.
I agree with Sarah that we are doing a lot of things out of compulsion just now.
Yeah.
When we will have choice, we'll have to see what behaviors have become part of our personality and what has changed. I think only time will tell that.
I think most of us have a sun sanitization area and a boot sanitization area in our rooms, in our houses now. Let me quickly get Rohini into this conversation. Rohini ji, from what you were saying earlier, I think through the better part of the lockdown, people like us in the media business, I couldn't get hold of a good quality webcam for the life of us, no matter where you tried. They were just simply not available here. What has that told us about opportunities? Are we making these things back here? Are we not making these things? Do we have the ability to make them? And how much has that changed priorities in sourcing from abroad?
Can't comment on webcams because we don't make webcams.
Yeah, but it's a larger question, obviously. Yeah.
So, but being an electronics person and being in the accessory market, I can tell you webcams, the better webcams will be inbuilt in the computer itself. So I think the learning will be for the laptop industry to make sure the webcams captures you to the best. And it is not a significant cost if you build it into the system of a computer. So, but our learning, of course, is you should take individual Bluetooth headphones or wired earphones or wired headphones, or make sure that you have better mic in them.
Okay, so, but the question I was trying to get to was that in the supply disruption that's happened, is there a takeaway lesson from there, or is something that we just step past? Is there something to do about localization, about sourcing, about what we produce here in India?
Yeah, we should, at least the items whose turnaround is very fast.
Okay, ma'am, you'll forgive me. I think we lost your audio connection there. We'll wait for it to stabilize and I'll come back to you in just a bit. Disha ji, in terms of people who are approaching you with ideas, has that fundamentally changed, or is it just a temporary change that look, businesses are pivoting to what is working right now, but they are committed to core business models that they were earlier, backing, and they'll go back to that the first chance they get?
So people are definitely, the number of people, the startup founders are, it's really increased. And also especially because a lot of people have lost their jobs, so they're actually converting to, building their startup ideas that they always thought of, building businesses. And one thing for sure is whatever ideas that are coming up, they're more, towards digital trends. COVID has really forced everyone to really go digital. So they're trying to take businesses, and run business operations as much digital as possible. So definitely.
So what do we mean by digital? Do we mean by selling digital, by advertising on digital, by having a digital interactive platform, or simply having a product that is all digital?
So all of that, starting from running the business operations, like now the teams that are working in startups, they're working digitally. It doesn't matter, they have to stick to one particular office or location. And talking about running their business operations, managing their accounts, everything is online now, and they're selling online, they're trying to advertise online. So they're going.
Okay, so how much of this you think is here to stay, and how much is 6 months later, once the vaccine comes out, and we no longer care about washing our hands, that this goes away?
So all this will actually give a more boost to startups, because they have become more lean and they're able to reach out to more markets, and they're able to, serve digital, globally in fact. So,
Okay.
going forward, because they have gone digital, it's actually expanded their market base and given them more lean resources, wherein their employees can work from anytime, anywhere. So some of them, it's really helped them, and it's definitely given them a survival mindset,
Okay.
to keep costs less.
Okay, so
And,
let me flip that around to a person who's actually doing this. Then, Dharitji, you were telling us, how you in the 30-day period you were trying to figure out your model and just keep things going, and now you are sort of back. But what changes have you made, both in terms of your SKU design, both in terms of your product design, your workflow, that you feel will stay with you even once we get out of COVID?
So a couple of changes which we did. Obviously, it was planned pretty little in our past, but we had to get it pretty early. One was we moved to technology. We are available online on our own portal. Okay, our online plan was at the fag end of this particular year, but we had to move in pretty early. That was one thing which we had to do. Obviously, therefore, the OPEX and everything had to boost it up, and the cost had to be leveled up. Second, couple of things on the packaging level which we did is we were already in a decent size. Packaging has never been changed. We have sustained it on a long term and a similar line basis. What we have done on a Salesforce perspective and at our warehouse and our manufacturing plant is we've obviously created a sanitization station. We have a PPE kit which is given for everyone, so that the output, the product, or the people are safe when they go out in the market. There's no fear. We do the regular checkups.
But how is it changed? Because you said you're still looking to be stocked, physically stocked. You're not completely relying on a digital sales model.
That's right. We are a hybrid model.
Yeah, but what change is there other than updating or upgrading to digital faster that you feel is going to stay? Because maybe the sanitization station, all food producers need some kind of sanitization stations. That's not abnormal for you guys.
Yes. So the only thing which is gonna be staying is AC. We are into the business which is necessity, right? For us, which we were already catering to consumer need. We were already into the quality assurance perspective. So there is not much of change which has helped. Only thing is which we realized over a period of time, the sustainability of a business. A, B, availability of the product needs to be there. So we worked very advanced on distribution level as well. We started having our own distribution outfit where we started deploying our own fleet. Our people were directly going to the retail outlet rather than going through a typical distributor model.
Okay.
So that helped us.
Okay.
We went to the house societies on our own, which helped us. That's where the sales happened doubled up.
Okay.
So that all changes which we realized, which we took it up over a period of time to reach to direct consumers, which is again going to be a
I'll come and pick your mind on
lessons
lessons learned there also. I wish one of you guys would come up with I don't know if there's a market for it, pre-chopped onions. There has to be a market for it now. Come on. One thing you don't want to do. And the other thing is washing dishes. But that's a lesson learned also. And we've been having a very, very interesting conversation, both from a theoretical and practical end, as we've been having for very, very many months now. What is it that wealth creation is going to be about? Entrepreneurship is going to be about? Going ahead. And what's changed that is here to stay? Let's pick up the conversation from where we left off. Anuragji, guys, I'm going to rope you back into this live telecast, guys. So let's quickly get back into action. Guys, if you can still hear me, we are back live. So let me take the opportunity to bring you back into this conversation, which is back live on TV from what we were discussing in the break. I wanted to figure out what is changed. And when we are talking about that pivot that we would like to talk about, whether it's happening, let's reverse the order. Dharit, what can we do now here, which is, because you do a lot of local sourcing, that's the very nature of the product that you run, right?
That's right. Yeah.
But in the approach, what is now possible or what is changing that was difficult to do earlier?
Okay, so what has happened now thanks to COVID, a couple of things which we realized. One is you need to be locally produced where the major consumers of your customers are, which will help you give a higher and better supply chain management. Secondly, what has helped on a long run also is that post lockdown, the demand to direct to home is obviously created. So
okay, so those are procedural things. I won't talk about product things. Is there are people still going gaga about the latest trends in health food from the US? and are being able to produce that here? Is it more fresh produce that is going out? Are we if you're doing supplementing then with vitamins and whatnot? Is that are we trend based? So if that trend is being produced, if the kale has to come from somewhere else, or I don't know what the latest thing these days is. I have never seen so much quinoa in my house in the past 6 months because my wife doesn't like the rice I eat. Is the quinoa made here? Is it grown here? I would want to know.
So superfood has obviously taken a precedent in terms of plant-based food, plant-based products has taken a precedent. Obviously, immunity boosters, a lot of herbal products, Indian herbal turmeric has taken a lot of precedence. As you rightly said, the citric acids which we use as a supplement to enhance the shelf life of the product, that has been reduced and replaced to more Ayurvedic form of
Okay, interesting. But are you seeing more entrepreneurs, getting into microherbs, into quinoa, into kale production? Are you seeing that happening here? So if you want to source, you can source locally.
On a large scale, if you look at the national level, this has not been produced, but at a local home kitchens, which has been spurred up recently, and the local producers, which has been come up at a city level, there has been a lot of influx on that particular range of products. But on a massive scale, yet there has to be a player which looks into this. Not much, but very few regular people are there. But at the end, when they create a mixture which is needs to be palatable and a national product which needs to be palatable to the nationality and local dialect as well, then this play
So maybe there's an opportunity that this hasn't been sorted out yet, and this is going to be a supply chain issue also. Okay, let's get in Disha. Disha ji, how many people that you're interacting with, would-be entrepreneurs or current entrepreneurs, where they are trying to fix an issue that there is now a demand for local product and therefore there is an opportunity in business?
So definitely lot of demand has increased in specific industries like I mentioned earlier as well, like in health and wellness, education, and there are niche categories in each of these broad segments. So whether we talk health and wellness is so broad and education is so broad, so people are definitely catering to and pivoting, and they have really been doing good. If we start with education, for example, like online education, so people are targeting towards primary school education, and they're doing extra classes for people if they're not able to get good knowledge base from their in-person interaction with teachers. So a lot of online startups have kicked off catering to primary students, and they're really doing well because they're able to, because internet connection is well, and everyone has mobile phones everywhere, so people are actually able to connect teachers with students. So it's really doing well, niche categories in these sports segments which are really facing demand. So they're really doing good.
Okay, but are people coming up and doing local products? Have local products arrived? Are we back in that zone as governments tell us we should be?
So local products are coming up, but it's taking time because the manufacturing segment right now, if we talk about, so it's a little slow right now. The labor is like
okay, so that's a yes and no. So a lot of people coming to you are still coming with digital solutions, not product-based solutions, which is of course exactly the opposite of what the Dharit has been talking about. Rohini ji, I posed the same question to you a bit earlier in a different format, but one is dealing with supply chains. One is saying that are we seeing local brands, Indian brands in the space that you're working on become competitors that other than, I don't know, Bose, that in the audio brand, that they are going to become things made in India that can actually have a brand value all over the world?
Yeah, absolutely. And we are a French brand actually. So, but yeah, made in India. To give you an example, the supply chain and the production in audio has happened. We have a sound bar which is actually being made in India. So right from the cutting of the wood, right from designing the speaker driver which goes inside, and the entire product is being made in India.
Okay.
The production slowly, like Anurag also said, I think for electronics production, definitely we have made a start. A lot of brands will make a start to get it made in India. Mobile phones have started getting made in India. I think Apple announced a big production 3-4 months back in India. So this is going to be the trend has started, and it's going to sustain.
Okay.
I think slowly the government.
Okay,
and
so
there are-
it's happening.
And
Okay,
Rishabh,
yeah.
happening.
Rishabh, we missed the bus on electronics manufacturing a decade back.
True that.
To bring it back through policy initiative, through confidence, through changes in labor, through making cost to credit cheaper, cost to capital cheaper, and most importantly, land and scale.
Land and
So I think it's a little long-term project.
Yeah,
but the groundwork has
it's a
started.
different orbit. But I like to see those Indian brands. I don't know, putting a speaker into my mask so I can be heard better when I'm wearing it. I believe.
I mean, it's not compared with Thompson.
I have a loud voice. I promise you, a very loud voice. That is the nature of the job. Sarah, let me quickly get you back in before I hand back to Anurag. In the area that you're working in, right? The transliteration of what is, going vocal for local. How is it panning out? If you're doing high tech, are you seeing Indian brands that are able to provide those solutions? And when people are looking at interior design, are they thinking of local produce, local handicrafts? Is that coming in? Does it matter?
We've actually been very clear about using local materials for a very long time, and I don't think that luxury and the use of local materials are at odds with each other. I think it's perfectly luxurious to use Indian teak wood, Indian cane, Indian marbles, Indian kota, Indian stone. So we do our extremely high-end, luxurious residential projects very much using all of the local materials that are available. I don't think we need to go to China shopping or we need to go to Italy shopping. When it comes to things like technology, honestly, I would just go with the brand that I think has the best value and the best performance. Now, if that happens to be an Indian brand, then great. But if that happens to not be an Indian brand, then that's fine. I believe in using Indian local materials because I believe in their value and I believe in them as products. They were made for this climate and this weather and our environment. So there's no other reason to use anything but that.
Okay, Anurag ji, we have about 12 minutes left.
Thank you, Rishabh. Let me start with Rohini. Rohini, we all have changed during the lockdown, during the last 7 months, the way we think, what do we put value on. I want to ask all of you on the panel, what has changed in your mind about work? One thing that has changed in terms of your thinking that will hold you in good stead throughout your life and throughout your business career. And second question I'd like to ask all the panelists is, when do you see the Indian economy coming back in full bloom? In 6 months, in 12 months, or 18 months? Of course, there is a variable of when the COVID goes away. There is a variable of when the vaccine would be found. I don't think we have clear answers to that. So, based on what we see, I would like you to answer the second question. So, let me start with you.
I think Anurag, the first question, the learning for as a business professional is to plan for adversity, because that's actually what has happened, the unexpected. So it's very important that you learn the art of scalability, keeping your bottom line. So that's the learning for us. The top line, I'm sure the Shah will also agree, is easy to get. What will keep your business sustained and floating is your bottom line, and that's exactly our learning has been.
So that's business learning. I'm talking of a philosophical learning. For example, mine is less is more.
Correct.
Never say never. We have preconceived notions. If I'd said to you in March that the 300 people that work with me will work from office, you'd ask me, what am I smoking? So, we are so conditioned by past that we fail to anticipate the future. So I've told myself that never say never. Anything is possible.
Absolutely. See, philosophically, I personally is a very positive-minded person. I live in present, unfortunately, and of course, professionally, you plan for future. But personally, I live at this moment what you have. So try to enjoy it, try to keep it light, try to be in that moment all the time. And of course, there are certain things. Every morning, like religiously, I do breathing in the morning. So I believe a breath that God has given you is a very important component, that if you practice it in the right way every morning, that will keep you calm. So that's a very important ritual that I followed during this COVID times also, and it's very difficult to recommend people that, but I think some few things should be there. So
absolutely, COVID has shown us that we can be in the moment because we don't know what will happen tomorrow. We're dealing with uncertainty. Possibly the word VUCA was invented for these times, and it is important to, as Eckhart Tolle said, the power of now, to exploit the now, enjoy the now. And when do you see the economy back full bloom? 6 months, 12 months, or 18 months?
I would take 12 months.
And why do you say 12 months?
I think the economy will bounce back when all the engines of the economy starts pumping in, like hospitality, the airlines, hotels, production, like every engine, automobile, the major engines of the economy has to start pumping in, and that will only happen when people starts moving. So and that safety will only come in 12 months. Like, because when the COVID starts, the plateau starts coming, it starts declining, the vaccine is much closer.
Yeah, still there is a fear factor. People
Absolutely.
are not still sure. I mean, restaurants have opened, cinemas are likely to open.
The education.
B2B exhibitions have opened, but we're not doing too many. So I'm with you. I think it'll be at least 12 months when we can see the economy back in full bloom. Of course, there are lots of variables there. Disha, what's your top lockdown lesson as an entrepreneur that will stick to you beyond COVID?
Experienced during this lockdown, looking at the bare necessities of life, whether it's health, environment, and family. So, taking care of these bare necessities would really help us, really focusing and, driving ourselves really better. So, being an entrepreneur, definitely when we are, so focused towards these things which really matter to us, we are actually able to perform in our startups as well. So this is really important, to really focus on
see the economy back in full bloom, Disha?
Sorry?
When do you see the economy being back in full bloom?
So again, like I've been mentioning ever since our, discussion, that it really depends on sector to sector. So some sectors really are doing well right now, but some might take 12 months to 18 months, and some might just perish away. So on an average basis,
we call
it is
it
definitely
K-shaped recovery. The reason we call it K is because certain sectors, because of the nature of the sector, will see a faster revival. All sectors that are contactless, of course, sectors that have high levels of contact, unless until the fear factor goes away, will continue to see stagnation or decline. Let me go to Dharit. Dharit, your top lockdown lesson, and when do you see the economy being back?
Sure. So couple of things which has helped me realize over this COVID period. One is change is constant. So I need to be adaptable. And thanks to being an entrepreneur, this has been the spirit which has been locked, because
agility. You're talking of agility, making faster decisions.
Along with agility, being in business and personal life as well, the change has to be constant. One is we've never stayed with family, working for so many years, never stayed with family for so many days at a stretch.
It's a blessing. That's not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
positive change.
Positivity.
I have never spent 3.5 months with my parents in 20 years.
I'm sure.
So so I spent 3.5 months with my parents. So that's a positive. Spending more time with family.
Yes.
It's a positive. It's a good thing. It's a welcome change. And also, I'll tell you, a lot of my friends have lost weight. People who had.
So I was about to come the next with that.
Because they're not traveling, they're eating at home. I'm just eating at home, doing nothing else. They haven't gone to nothing. Because I eat out so much. I mean, I travel about 20 days a month. I used to travel 20 days a month.
Yeah.
I haven't traveled. I have to go to Pune. I'm postponing for the last 2 weeks, next week. So I agree with you that we have to be agile. We have to accept the new normal in terms of being at home. It's a good thing, and you'll figure out whether your family likes you or not. But in terms of business, tell us, when do you see the economy is?
So off late there has been few indicators like a passenger vehicles, power consumption giving in a revival India kind of a strategy. But if you're asking a sharp V recovery, is unlikely to occur in this fiscal year for sure.
And why do you say so?
Predominantly, as you said, contactless businesses doing good. Businesses which are more retail driven.
Literally, people have survived on food.
So for me, my business, that 30% of my business was B2B, which suddenly got cut. Your horecas, everything has got cut. So that has been a biggest impact, and that industry needs to be revived, because that's where the whole, the business comes. As we rightly said, travel industry, hospitality, restaurants, all horeca as a business overall has been impacted, which has impacted us very badly. And however, retail has been there. That revival will happen only after this fiscal year. So maybe I think next year, same time when we have a discussion, we probably have we may have a cheers down and have a same line of discussion saying that life would be good.
Hopefully do it in the studio, meet you physically, shake your hand, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
One, what's that top lockdown lesson that has got your brain rewired? And second is, when is the economy back? What's your viewpoint?
I think a lot of us have realized how much we can actually accomplish by sitting at home and by not going in for the meetings. Earlier, we always felt like, no, I have to go for this meeting. I have to go for this trip. I have to meet this client or this vendor or whatever.
Or do an interview. We can do an interview online now.
Absolutely. So you can do so much stuff by just sitting at home, which you never realized. And a lot of people have come up with a lot of creative solutions where you can just continue to stay at home. And I think work from home is just going to be a reality for me for forever. I mean, a few days a week, I'm just going to continue and work.
You don't like people.
I hate people. I only like animals.
Thank you for saying that.
My animals.
Saying that on national TV.
Yes, I don't like people.
Yeah, this was totally a private conversation. All your friends still love you, don't get it.
On a serious note, Sarah, when do you see the economy back?
I think 6 months is too optimistic, 18 is too pessimistic. I think 12 is kind of the just right answer.
Okay, the balance. Okay, let me ask Rishabh. Normally you do the asking, but Rishabh, what's your top lockdown lesson in 7 months as a professional who leads a English news TV product? What's your top lockdown lesson?
In the news space, where we've been having to adapt for months and months and months. I don't know if it's a self-serving answer, but the top lesson was a reminder of why I do this job. I think that was the day the lockdown was announced.
Because a lot of people have forgotten that.
Yeah.
I think balance has gone out of.
I thought the job had become tamasha and debates and needless conversations, and the job right then was helping people.
That's cacophony. That's not a conversation. But yes, to put questions to the power, to have balance, to present both sides of the view. My top lockdown lesson is that it sounds like a cliche, but I keep saying, when it rains, look for rainbows. When it's dark, look for stars. And I've found enough rainbows and stars during this lockdown. I personally believe that the economy, we have to look at it sectorally. A lot will depend on what the government does over the next 3 months. And my sense is that the government spending and public spending will go up. Government will now come up with sectoral packages to be able to revive the economy. And last but not the least, certain sectors where technology has come to the rescue and made those businesses even more attractive for investors, and will continue to blossom. But I want to make one point to Sarah, especially to you. I believe in the fact, the more we use technology, the value of human connect goes up. The more there's a value to having a coffee with someone. The more we use technology, the more time we spend in our homes, we want to get out and talk to someone. So I believe anything that is in scarcity, the demand grows. It's a rule that still applies. It's an old world rule. So while digital grows, while we will use a lot of technology and contactless to be able to do a lot of activities which are very time efficient when we use technology, not having to travel for an interview. But I think we'll still be back to a lot of things that we did before COVID. Back to you, Vishal.
Okay, well, we are out of time, and one thing has definitely changed is that we are definitely looking at what we do more as a Team India approach. We now care a lot about. This is a conversation, forget doing near 100 episodes over 5 months, would not have worked on primetime television ever before. But it is now, and we are spending time on it because we are Team India working together. So if you are trying to get your home refurbished and have a cool 1 CR to spend, you need to find Sarah online and reach out to her. She promises to get you the best indigenous local materials. I've just figured out Disha is my neighbor in Marani Bagh. So if you have a startup incubator, especially digital space, you need to reach out to her. Please buy a Thomson sound bar. It's made in India. We just realized that. And check out High Grocer. And I think they're doing ready to heat meals, ready to eat meals that are available also. And as always, please check out Business World online and please watch NewsX.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.